Hello everyone. Today, we dive into the intriguing world of NIO stock analysis. Exploring its recent ups and downs, we'll discuss key market trends and insights. Stick around as we unravel what's been impacting NIO's performance and what lies ahead. Let's dissect the data, uncover the potentials, and navigate the road ahead for NIO. This is your essential NIO stock update. I'm going to break down what's going on with NIO stock and what you should be watching for moving forward, and also what's happening to NIO stock as we have some important data to discuss. But before I break anything down with all this information, before I talk about what's going on with NIO, why it's not looking bad whatsoever in my eyes. Now let's talk about what's going on with the markets and NIO. NIO is down 2.2% for the day. Once again, still showing some weakness after that earnings report, which is not necessarily the best for them yesterday. However, it's still not looking that horrible in my opinion. Here's exactly the reason why. Expanding our view from NIO, let's analyze the happenings of the previous 10 days. Right? NIO hit 10.6. It bounced off of it. It hit 10.57. Bounced off of it. Hit 10.5. Bounced off of it. And then right here, it actually came all the way down to about 9.46. Just temporarily because of its earnings, it came down. It got bought right back up to 10.3, and the low from today was around 10.4. It's been making these lows besides this one leg drop before it got bought right back up. But the lows have been between 10.3 to 10.6, right? Back and forth and back and forth. We're continuing to observe buyers stepping and trying to defend the 10.3 to 10.6 area, and we need some kind of bad catalyst for that to break downwards. Otherwise, it's going to try to bounce very soon, most likely. Now, is it going to happen immediately? Maybe not. This thing's been shopping for some time. It may continue on this trend for some while, but eventually, I just want to note that if you go there and see this bullish divergence on NIO's chart, the RSI and the MACD, they're continuing to trend upwards while NIO is still trading flats. We made this low right here, and yet the bullish divergence still remains. And we're forming this bullish divergence right before the very beginning of September. Right? We're approaching the end of August. I say this because you have to remember that for September, NIO is going to be announcing the August deliveries. And if they do relatively well for them, if they're just decent numbers, NIO could try to bounce. If they're really bad numbers, then that may not be the best, but I'm optimistic. The E6 was still killing it, and let's hope we get some good numbers for NIO. Now, for tomorrow specifically, the market may start off not the best because we have PCE data coming out. We may gap down tomorrow, but there is hope for the market to bounce intraday. The reason why I think the OBS do favor maybe a possible slowdown tomorrow morning is because of what's looking in the numbers when considering the CPI. CPI on the core side was as expected, but CPI in itself was a little bit hot. If you guys remember the last CPI that came out, there's a slight increase, and that is what we're forecasting for PCE. So PCE is another very important inflationary measure by the Fed. We will be observing this with utmost diligence. I believe that core PCE is going to be very moderate, very close to expectations, but I'm not as sure about PCE in itself. PCE could be a little bit hot. Maybe the forecast is like 3.2, 3.3%, and that could change everything from here. Now to add on to this, NIO reported its earnings, not the best of earnings. They kind of missed on EPS and revenue. This was due to the observed decrease, correct? We noted a decline in NIO's deliveries. Overall, there were slowdowns in demand which were outside of NIO's control, and as a result, NIO ended up slowing down. Now what could have offset this would have been maybe if NIO tried to cut prices or find different strategies to get sales up. They didn't do that till the very end, but as long as they continue to improve as time goes on, the margins will improve. There are economic hardships right now which are kind of slowing them down, at least in the current stance. But what's good about NIO is NIO's first phone is going to be launching in late September most likely. According to reports, this is once again very good. It's Android powered, which is still good news for them. This could help bring in more revenue and hopefully help them become more profitable. I am quite excited about this. It's going to be very interesting to witness. Right? This is making a lot of headlines right now. NIO to launch the first mobile phone in September to boost their appeal in the EV space. When it comes to some other pieces of data, NIO has a buy rating from Deutsche Bank. Besides that, NIO was trying to continue to hold up. And finally, we observe seasonality. It tends to be a little bit better for NIO. Like Thursdays, they're up about 51% of the time. It's almost a coin toss. If anything, there tends to be more volatility during the third to last and then second to last, or like the final hour of the day for NIO. So we're going to be witness it during the 6th and 7th hours. Those are going to be very important. And finally, the short interest is starting to go up just a little bit. But nothing too crazy. We're going to be discuss this as well and just keeping a very close eye on this. NIO dropped, but the volume 46 million. It's not really dropping on high volume, which is another decent sign. So when it comes to the charts, let me break down something important with PCE data coming out for tomorrow. There's a risk that the market could gap down. If NIO were to gap down, we're going to be observed 10.3 or so, maybe a little lower. It could touch like 10.25 to 10.3. Then I expect buyers to come right back in and try to push this thing back up to about 10.7 and continue to maintain these levels for the time being. I think NIO is going to remain kind of sideways for an extended period of time, but this thing is set to be forming a possible inverted head and shoulders. With the left shoulder here, the head down here, we could be forming a right shoulder for the next couple of days before getting that push to the upside. Bullish divergence suggests that there's going to be a bounce coming soon, possibly because of their deliveries, although I can't promise that seems more probable as of right now. So yes, we may observe some sideways price action for NIO for tomorrow. But for the medium term, there's a good chance of a bounce as we approach September based off their deliveries. I think the ODS greatly favor that. I'm going to break more about that a little bit later for SPY. We have this potential rising wedge-like pattern. It's been continuing to push up, but I do believe the OVS favor this thing maybe coming down a little bit, getting a bit of a cool off after the RSI is very overbought on the 4-hour time frame. We have PCE data coming out. It may cause the market to kind of like gap down tomorrow, hit the 448 to 450, then bounce and start pushing higher. For the next few weeks, I do think SPYs can hit the mid 450. I'm still bullish on the markets, guys. I'm just saying that there may be a very healthy pullback, very healthy, thanks to the PCE data. Before the market tries to bounce and continue pushing, I just want to make that as clear as possible. So make sure you're open-minded and just know that we have to be ready for different levels of volatility in a market like this. All right, just trying to be open-minded, just trying to be honest as possible. So we're going to be witness for a possible pullback tomorrow in the morning. I think the ODS favor that based off PCE, and then we could bounce from there. I mean, we have this bearish divergence. It start to come down just a little bit. It might come down a little bit more, maybe retest 250 or so. Just cool off on the RSI just a little bit before this thing gets a bounce and starts pushing higher. It's going to hit the 270, most likely in a couple of weeks. Before that, we may get a small pullback before it goes even higher. Maybe fill some of these imbalances first and then come right back up. The retest of like 185, then a bounce and a push to 190 later on. It all depends on PCE, so make sure you're open-minded. I can't predict it perfectly, but I do believe the OBS favor may be a very healthy little pullback before the market continues. If this ends up causing some downside, 375 being retested, maybe even this high right here, the breakout area to be retested around this 373 zone before it bounces and starts pushing for the 380. So I'm bullish on the markets. I'm still a bull, guys. I think the market is going to push up for the time being for the next couple of weeks. But before we push higher, we could get a healthy gap down or pull back first before we continue higher. So I just want to make that as clear as possible if you don't believe me. You could also observe the rising wedges and historically how the market looks. PCE is not something I could promise, but it is a possibility that you have to be super wary of on NVIDIA stock. This thing has an uptrend that's been respected. It looks bullish overall. I think it's going to push up higher later on. But before that happens, we have this potential rising wedge that's forming on it. If that's the case for it, Nvidia is starting to cool off a little bit. If it continues to cool off, we will be monitoring for a substantial retracement before expecting further developments. This retracement hinges on the 500 mark. There is a possibility of a slightly deeper retracement, potentially testing the support around 485. After this, a rebound is likely, followed by a gradual push towards 500 and beyond. This projection aligns with my analysis of Nvidia's situation. Moreover, it's plausible that most other stocks could conform to a similar pattern. Having shared these insights, I want to express my gratitude for your attentive audience. I hope each of you experiences an incredibly wonderful day. Regarding NIO, it's possible that a period of sideways movement could persist before any significant upward movement occurs. Bearing this in mind, I encourage you all to tend to your responsibilities and aspirations. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more stock predictions and market insights. Remember to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Happy investing and see you in the next video.